Hi everyone, it's Sarah from the Support Worker Store. I'm just going to add Hayley into the chat.
That worked this time.
Hi, Hayley. How are you?
Hi, I'm good. How are you?
Good. I'm so excited because I haven't interviewed anyone quite like you before. So I really want to tell a lot
Oh,
of people about your story and how you got to becoming a support coordinator and all the things in between because it's actually quite a bit of an epic story. So
oh,
if,
well,
if
thank
it's all
you.
right, like you don't mind if we go back in time a little
Gosh,
bit
no,
before we go.
no. I
All
am an
right.
open book, my friend, an open book.
All right. So your journey started in a caravan with a husband and two kids.
Three,
Yep.
three. Yeah,
Three kids.
yeah. Look,
So
people might not want to ever see me again because they'll just go, I'm crazy. Off they,
yep.
why would you want to lock yourself in a sardine can with three children and your husband? Like, what? Why?
Why made you travel Australia? Like
Yeah.
what got you there?
Look, I need to go a little bit further back. So
Yep.
we have three beautiful girls. They are 10, 8, and 6, and our youngest was born with a disability.
Yep.
Her name's Pippa, and so we spent a lot of time in hospital. Disability parenting's not something that you actually think will ever happen, but then once you are in this world, you're like, holy shit,
Yep.
what? 1 in 5 children are born with a
Yep. Yep.
disability? Oh
Yep.
my God. And so we sort of had a shit couple of years. And then I was diagnosed with cervical cancer in July of 2021. And went to NDIS and I said, can I please have some help with my disabled
Yeah.
child? And they said, no, you can't. And if you want help, you need to go to child protection if you can't look after your child. So long story short, I had a nervous breakdown and I found a support coordinator, and I had never heard of support coordination before. And she changed our life.
Yep.
And then once I was feeling a bit better, I went, I could do this.
Yep.
From my past experience, I think I'd be a good support coordinator. And so I convinced a couple of friends who were really struggling with their NDIS plans. I was like, hey, can I have a go with your kids' plan? And they said yes. And it turns out I was pretty good at it. And in between all that, cancer's a really great perspective. Yeah, you feel like you've always got one day. I'll
Yep.
do that one day. And so, my husband and I, it was something we'd already spoken about, traveling Australia, and we went, you know
Yep.
what, let's do it. And so
Yep.
we did. So I built my business, traveled Australia, and we have just landed in beautiful Brisbane.
Yep.
Except it's not so beautiful right now. Well, it is, but apparently,
Yep.
Cyclone Alfred's on its way.
So you've landed in Brisbane, but a lot of the support coordination you have been able to do online. And this
Yeah.
probably would really suit a lot of parents with kids with disabilities because I dare say you do have the background of what it's like to go in and out of hospitals.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. And parents just don't need another appointment. Like parents are busy. We're all trying to juggle life in general.
Yeah.
And so then throw in a kid with a disability and you just go, man, I don't want to go and talk to someone else, let
Yeah.
alone about something as soul destroying as NDIS. I think I'd rather go get a root canal. So, yeah, we only work with pediatrics.
Yeah.
So that's anyone under the age of 18. And it works really well. But we're also really upfront that we are a virtual service.
Yeah.
And there are some people that's not right for,
Yeah.
and that's okay,
Yeah.
because there's other agencies out there who can provide that face-to-face support.
It is
What you
quite, yeah, sorry.
No,
Quite
no.
niche.
Yes.
Like you are completely niche when it comes to that part because working with children in particular, but also children that require a bit more medical help and assistance and being able to speak that language because it's not an area that every support coordinator can do.
No.
And it's not because it's not their skill set, it's not their background, it's not for them. Have you had to do any training to get to this besides from lived experience?
Background is in trauma-informed practice. So I used to work with victims of crime and did a lot of stuff around domestic violence and child sexual abuse and that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
After I did 10 years there, I was pretty burnt out. So I went into the early childhood space.
Yeah.
And I should say I've always just had an interest of working with families of children.
Yeah.
So I, almost finished a midwifery degree as well. So that gave me actually a really great, that's come in really handy around child development. And I've also sort of dabbled a bit in psychology here and there, and I've got some other quals and that sort of thing. So I've always been around children, and I've done a lot of professional development, but I've also the amazing humans who work for me, majority of them are RNs. And so they sort of bring a lot of clinical experience as well. And I have one fabulous who used to be a plan manager, and I convinced her to come to the good side.
I dare say, and if correct me if I'm wrong, you do get a lot of parents that come into your services that are just kind of tired and had enough and they don't want to do any more appointments. What advice would you give to parents who are watching out there that have kids on the NDIS that find this whole entire situation quite overwhelming?
Yeah. Oh, there's so many things. I think the first thing, from a very practical perspective is you're not alone. You're not the only person who doesn't get it. So, and it's not as scary as what it's made to think. Yes, you hear all of this stuff. Oh, NDIS took away their funding and did this and did that. Look, things happen. I'm not saying they don't, but generally they're pretty reasonable when you provide the right evidence. And I think that's, we hear so many heartbreaking stories from families, but then when we unpack a little bit more, we can see why they probably haven't gotten what they've asked for, or we can see why, their funding's been cut and that sort of thing. So, for us, because we deal with it day in, day out, it's easy for us to see, but it's a real privilege being able to really empower and educate parents. The other thing from a more personal side, and we see it all the time, is you don't have to do all the therapy. Your child will survive if they are not doing, weekly OT, weekly speech. And I did it. I was there. I was like, well, I've got all this funding, so therefore I have to do weekly OT and weekly speech and weekly physio. My child will be they're already disadvantaged in their developmental milestones. So if I don't do everything, and what happens if you burn yourself out in the process? So that would be a conversation we have a lot with parents around that. And the other thing, what would be the other thing? You're allowed to grieve. I think that would be my biggest thing.
We don't talk about it, do we? We don't.
We do.
It's not a topic. No, it's not a topic that is out there, but it's a topic that's really important because you do have to grieve.
Yeah.
At this point.
And it's the thing I get goosebumps just thinking about it, because I would not change Pippa for the world. And what I have learned, that there is so much joy parenting a child with a disability. There really is. And she is the teacher that I did not know I needed. She also is the reason I haven't slept in 6 years, and I'm pretty sure why I don't have a uterus, and why I'm tired, and why I'm this and why I'm that. Let's not sugarcoat this stuff. There is a grief there, and you're allowed to grieve, because we're not having a child with a disability is not discussed. It's not even at your perinatal or whatever they called. God, I'm feeling really out of touch these days. Pip's 6 now. Your antenatal sort of appointments. There's no discussion that your child might have a disability. And if there is, there's all of this doom and gloom around
a lot of negative. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, and it's like, I'm sorry your child has cerebral palsy. I'm sorry your child has Down syndrome. And I've been lucky enough to be around some amazing humans doing fantastic work around changing that conversation in this space, the diagnostic conversation. We're not saying this life is great. No, that's not the word. It's about starting off and going, it's going to be different. And I think that's the big thing, is that, it's different, but it's not any worse. It's not any less love. It's not, and the funny thing with Pippa is, it's like, people love Pippa. Like, Pippa's very high functioning now, I must say. Like, she is the poster child for early intervention. But there's something about her, and she just brings so much joy and love to everyone. Like, an intellectual disability is hilarious, apart from the tantrums. But it's like, there is, everyone who meets us is just like, oh, I wish I could have her confidence and her joy and her, she thrives in social settings. So she is everyone's best mate, and people love it. And we just wouldn't have that. Like, if it wasn't for a disability, she'd be like my neurotypical 8-year-old who's really shy around people, or my neurotypical 10-year-old who's that typical first child, that rule follower, very polite, you know, whereas Pip's like, I'm here, people, and, you know, like, you will bow to me, and, you know, and she runs our family.
Yep.
So with the grief, I think it's grieving about what you think life was going to be.
Yeah.
I never imagined being at playgroup with an oxygen tank on my back and a feeding pump on Pip full time, and, you know, trying to, you know, I was crazy and I had 3 under 4, you know, and it was, I still remember sitting in the hospital and I hadn't cried. Like, there was nothing about anything, like the nasogastric tube, all the admissions, it hadn't, but the oxygen broke me, because when they wheeled out this tank, and I'm talking, like, for those of you at home, like, you know, your massive gas bottles, like that, and a sack truck is what you walk around your house with, you know. And I just went, how, like, that hit home, and I went, how do I do this with a 3-year-old and a 2-year-old? Like, I don't know how to do this. I don't know how to do this.
But it's also the community around you, and as you're going out and about with Pippa, you have to explain it, and you have to showcase and role model what a positive interaction is as well. That you are safe. It is okay. You know, this is just Pippa.
Yeah. And I think, I'll be really honest though, it was actually easier when she had a visible disability. So when a kid's got oxygen and a nasogastric tube taped to your face, you sort of know that they're not all that healthy, you know, so you can see, and that was quite obvious. I actually struggle a little bit more now with her, and it's all my stuff. It's not her, but I feel I sometimes catch myself over explaining. You know, like over explaining to people who don't know us why she might be so loud, and why she's, you know, incessantly yelling at people's faces, even though they've, you know, acknowledged her and stuff, and she's just so excited. And, you know, and that's one thing I would say about the grief, is it's not like you grieve the life you thought that you were going to have and then it goes, you know, it goes. I'm finding there's lots of different milestones that I go, oh, okay, the mum heart here is hurting, you know, starting school, and, you know, it hasn't been let's enroll her and off we go. There's individual learning plans. There's training the SSO so that they can give her fluids through her peg. There's supported seating. There's advocating for funding so she can have the SSO with them all the time. And, you know, like, it's seeing the kids run around on the playground and she can't really keep up from both a cognitive and a physical perspective. You know, I grieve that. That hurts. Watching that, you know, because you don't think about it. So
kind of have like an image of where their life could be, like 20 years from now, where I'll be at the Christmas table. I get that. I've got 3 kids too, so I do the same. Okay, and then they're just all so different.
They are. They really are.
It's funny because we're both like me and my partner, like, they're just so completely different. As you're going along, do you have supports that come in home for your daughter?
Yes.
How do you assist them to have really good quality care, because she is on a peg feed and sometimes there might be oxygen and things like that? What do you put in place for support workers to make sure that you've got really good quality care?
I have been so lucky in the support worker world. So I just want to flag that we have been blessed in the best way. We've kissed a couple of toads, don't get me wrong, but you get that in, you know, I've had shit speeches and OTs and that sort of stuff as well everywhere.
And
so
you leave the appointment going, I can't believe we paid that. What a right.
Yeah, I know.
Like, you're really shitty about it because you're like, what did I get? And all the money went where?
Yeah.
I understand that.
You.
But
I hear
doesn't
you.
matter
Every
sector. And you do
absolutely.
A couple of times. 100%.
You do. And it's like, you know, I'm sure that we've probably, not many, but I'm sure that we've had participants at early disability where we just haven't been the right fit. You know, I always say to families that we work with, it's like shoes, you know, just if you had a pair of shoes that didn't fit, you'd take them back to the shop. And just because we're dealing with people doesn't mean they're an instant fit. And so I think what we have done, I've found independent support workers are the best fit for us. It's the best fit for my personality. It's the best fit for our family. Whereas we have participants on our books who wouldn't be caught dead with an independent support worker, and they love the agency. They love the protection that brings. They like the training that, you know, and and it really, you need to work out what works for you. Yeah, it does. And I think sort of from a support worker's perspective, you have to be willing to be uncomfortable.
Yep.
And it's actually really uncomfortable when you first have support workers come into the home.
It is, because you're going, as a support worker, you're going into somebody's house you've never been before, and you see some things, right? And you've got family dynamics as well, so it can be really difficult to, you know, your boundaries, know what's safe, but also introduce yourself, because you do want to get along, because you really do want that connection, because the better the connection, the easier it is, you know, the more you get out of the person we serve, and the NDIS goals, they succeed.
Exactly. And so we're really lucky in the sense that from a term of like connection with Pippa, support workers don't have to work that hard. Pip loves everyone. So in that sense, we've never had to worry about that. Whereas I know, you know, a lot of kids with sort of more of those fear-based behaviors and disability, that would be really, really tricky. So I think already we're really lucky in that sense. I'm a really confident person, but I hate confrontation. So that has been one thing I've definitely had to learn, is acknowledging that it's uncomfortable when people first come in, and that's okay. And I think it's about being really upfront at the beginning about the expectations, you know. And so I do a meet and greet with everyone, and I say to them, I'm like, this is what I expect. I don't apologize about it. And I'm like, is this okay with you? You know, I need to know that, you know, and I say, I don't want to tell you that if you've heard the washing machine go off, to go, there's a load of washing on, can you please like hang it out? And obviously if they're busy with Pip, she's dysregulated or whatever, that's different. But the initiative, like to walk into my kitchen and someone has used their initiative and have unpacked my dishwasher, or they've stacked my dishwasher, I can't tell you the mental relief that you feel. I just, support workers are angels. I love them.
When you say things like that, because I know, well, sometimes there have been times that as a support worker, I've been uncomfortable. Can I? Because this person's house is kind of like a museum right now, and I'd be like, I don't even know if I can touch anything. Like, I am not worthy to be here. There's some, you know, you do get into those type of situations. I love the fact that you're talking about that, how much of a joy it is that jobs are done and they're not asked for, they're just getting done because it needs to be done, and that's what it takes to run a household, but also be successful, because for your daughter in particular, it is assisting her. All the things that we're doing is to make sure that she has a quality of life that, you know, is assisting her to that point. So a family dynamic is incredibly important. But my question to you is, how did you find these independents? Like they weren't just walking down the street one day and said, hey, you. Like, was it through Facebook? Was it through Hire Up?
Yeah, look, I did Mabel. I went through Mabel and Hire Up. When we were back in South Australia, we just did word of mouth, because we're in a small country town. Everyone knows everyone, and I knew who I wanted, and we were lucky enough to get her. And so and then this time, that's where with Mabel, we had a couple, and it's one thing to sort of, I'm really careful. Like Mabel can be hugely overwhelming. So that's where I think if you are already feeling pretty taxed out, my advice to any parent watching this is go through an agency first, because you are then going to see what, you know, the peak level is, but you don't get the level of flexibility. And that's why I love it. The independence.
I like this, because I agree with you. Agency first, because you've got to figure out what you like and you don't like, and you can have these conversations with a provider saying, look, this person's not working and these are the reasons why. I'm looking for a support worker that is going to dance to Taylor Swift, that is okay to be at the school pickup. He's got that flexibility. You can have those conversations with the provider first as you get comfortable. And I think it does take time to get comfortable because you are getting people in and out of your house, and you need to get your questions ready too, because you're practically, when they're coming in for your meet and greets, you are doing a hire and you are wanting to know that person. And I'm somebody with agency that I will call them, like hire up Mabel, I will call them before they even touch it. And the reason why is because I need to filter whether this personality, this person who's going to turn up and work is actually going to be the right person and the right fit. Because as a provider, if I put my provider hat on, there's one way to lose a participant very quickly, and that's by sending the wrong support worker.
Absolutely.
100%.
Yeah. And I always say to the mums we work with, I'm like, you found the right support worker when you don't put a bra on when they knock at the door. But that could just be me as well, because I'm just that person. I've got friends who are not as relaxed as me, but it's like, obviously you have respect, and I'm not walking around with no top on, but it's like you're in your pajamas or whatever. If someone knocks on the door, I would go and get changed, and I would go and put a bra on and that sort of thing. Whereas for a support worker, I'm just like, no bra. Yeah,
when you are.
Some of the comments. It's like, guys, me.
Yep.
You know me.
Like checklists at your house, like on a Monday you must complete X, Y, and Z, or is it just because you've created this really natural relationship between?
It's really natural. It's really natural. And look, this is by no means anything against younger support workers out there, but we have had the most success with older mums whose kids have grown up because they just know what needs to be done.
They can see what happens there. So I get it.
And so if for the younger support workers out there, I would 100% be thinking about, what does your mum do when you're sitting down on the couch just chilling? What's your mum doing? She's probably in the kitchen washing up from dinner. That's what you should be doing.
Bringing back so many memories of like seal houses and stuff where you have a younger demographic and they want the younger support workers. There were little jobs that kind of like go missing and all that stuff. But if I put my provider hat back on, it's about the person we serve and what they wanted. That type of stuff you can nurture.
Exactly.
But I understand where you're coming from, because there are particular times of the day that there's certain things there's certain jobs that just have to be done.
You have to do the dishes.
Your household is running and running successfully. I understand that.
Yeah. So, and like tonight, sorry.
That's okay.
So tonight, so I have a support worker come on Tuesday afternoons, because I have tried to take Pippa to Maggie's musical theatre while we're sitting there and waiting. And while I was held abuse, Pippa's thing at the moment is, you're a big fat brat. And I'm like, I don't even know how she's not swearing, and it's not worse. But we spent an hour and a half of her throwing things at me, punching me, kicking me, screaming me, yelling, trying to bite, all that sort of stuff. And I went, why am I doing this? Because, you have that thing of like, I can do this. Like, I can take her. And I was like, why? Why am I doing this? And so on Tuesdays now, she has a support worker, Tuesdays and Wednesdays. And I text, her name's Kerry, our fabulous support worker. I text Kerry in the morning and I said, she's the bomb. Kerry's the bomb. If you're in Brisbane, I can hook you up. But remember, she's mine first. And, I just said, hey, I didn't get a chance to do X, Y, Z for dinner tonight. Can you do it? And I came home and half of our dinner was cooked because I let her. And so it's that communication. And so the best thing about Kerry is she's so upfront. And she, at the minute, was going, from day one, she was like, is it okay if I fold your washing? Is it okay if I make your bed? If you've stripped your bed and it's there. And so she gained consent first, because I do know for some people it would probably be a little bit, not liking people. So I think that's the thing on, obviously the dishes, no. But if you're folding washing, if you're doing different things like that, just ask. Hey, is it okay if I do this?
You are touching my strings right now, my heartstrings, because I agree, because in the beginning it always is consent. And I know in particular, I'll give you an example. I have worked with people that are high physical disabilities, wheelchairs, they're in hoisting, all sorts of that type of stuff. And what I found that was missing when I was training other support workers, it was the consent part. Like, I'm about to touch your arm, I'm about to move you into position, I'm about to undo the seatbelt, we're going up, we're going down, like explaining every step of the way to the point that somebody was really comfortable.
Yeah.
That you can see somebody, especially I'm thinking like how uncomfortable people are, they're holding on to dear life in this sling, thinking, I hope this support worker's okay. You've got it all right. But
petrifying it must
I
be.
know. If you think about it, like the idea that we need to explain what is happening before it happens, 100%.
And the fact that most people are butt naked when they're like, you want to talk vulnerability? Like, okay, if it's bugger, like if I was hoisted up in the air with a stranger with my bits hanging out, like you want to define vulnerable. Hello, that's vulnerable.
This is also one of the things with support workers. They are like people that we said are vulnerable because you're the first time to their door, and they're like, "Are you a stranger? Are you a support worker?" And then I've got to introduce myself and I've got to explain my story 100 times over, depending on the likelihood of how many support workers you have in your life and the likelihood of having a support worker in your life. I think if it's around, for an average person living in Seals, it's around 6,000 support workers come in and out of their life over a lifetime. And that is a lot of people.
It is. And, I was only working with a mum today where we were looking at Sil for her adult daughter, and she's like, she just will not cope with the in and out.
Yep.
So it's like trying to find a solution for some independent living and the consistency. Carrie is like, she will leave out of my cold dead hands. Not happening.
Yep. You've done really well. But besides all of this, you've actually, with your support coordination business, you do have a bit going on. So you do support coordination, and I've got to get this right. You do the one-to-one service provider, like a one-to-one to provider.
So Ali Consulting has become a bit of its own, a beast of its own. Ta-da! So what you find with support coordination, so look, like any profession, there's great support coordinators, there's not so great support coordinators. I think at Ali we're pretty bloody good.
Yep.
And so your support coordinator is the one who sort of knows the NDIS legislation, the operational guidelines, how to, sort of those real benchmarky type stuff. And so I found I was doing a lot of business advice for free. I was literally going, I can't bill this participant this, but this provider has absolutely no idea what they're doing. And so I started to do some provider consulting, and it's just kind of taken off. I think because I'm not an NDIS consultant who comes in and goes, I'm going to get you registered. No. That's not me. If you're looking for registration, I'm not the person. There's 50,000 places out there selling you a policy pack and telling you that they can get you registered. Go see them. Not that I agree with it anyway.
And I can get you 10 clients as well.
And I can get you 10 clients. It's not me. And so the way you see me now is how I am in my consulting, because I truly believe that you can be a consultant and know your shit, but actually be a human. So so Ali Consulting is going to be doing it's got its own website and stuff being built, and it's just all happening. It's really exciting. I feel really grateful.
And if you think about this, a couple of years back, you never would have seen yourself in this position as a support coordinator, as a consultant, but also it's not just consultant, you do corporate training as well, I saw.
Yeah. So we do professional development training. I guess one of the biggest gaps that we see is, as support coordinators, is well-meaning professionals who never went to uni to spend hours writing NDIS reports. And a speechy and an OT are fantastic at expressive language delays and functional capacity. They don't really know how to interpret legislation. And so what we do, and especially since the NDIS supports now, with the legislation change, recommendations need to be very specific to NDIS supports. So gone are the days where you could go into Kmart and buy I remember once I bought some balancing logs for Pippa on discount at Kmart for $5. And, I could claim that on her plan because it was bought with a disability specific purpose, and we were on that principle based system. Whereas the transitional support rules are not principle based. They are a yes and no. So we work with providers, I guess, to just help them to understand what that actually looks like. And when you talk specifically to support worker providers, I must say support worker providers put a lot of faith in OTs to be recommending their services.
Yes.
I am yet to work with a support work, like any provider watching this right now, seriously have a think about how do you provide evidence for your services towards NDIS? Because you're hoping that another provider is doing it for you and recommending support work hours. And you are the one who knows this participant the best. I'm not saying, write a letter and, go for war on peace. But what I am saying is, are you involved in that OT's functional capacity assessment? Are you involved in the conversation? And 99.9% of providers, especially support work providers, they're not. They don't really understand the price guide either. There's just this assumption of, oh, well, it's core. I just bill through core.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, actually, what you're doing is capacity building. Let's say if teaching them how to learn public transport. It's like, well, do you know that there's a line in the improved daily living funding that allows for that? And if the participant has a goal and it's flexible and blah, 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 there's just such a complacency is not the right word, but I feel that more could be done for support workers to be a little bit more proactive in sustaining their life.
It is. And the reason why it's hard is because as a support worker, I would like to work with my hands. I like to be present. I chose support work so I could be with people.
Yeah.
Because I enjoy company of other people. I enjoy the humor, I enjoy the laughs, I enjoy watching the growth. But the idea of putting it all into the right reports and what to write half the time, can be so confusing. I know with the support worker store, I do a lot of things where I take the information. Because to me, it's a lot of jargon, and then trying to put it into a way that's easy to understand, so everyone can understand the information and move it on from there. Like, I completely get it, but you are right, 110%. The involvement that you put in is so important, because it could be at points make and break. I've been working currently a lot with support workers that are helping write like supportive plans for support coordinators with the person that we serve and the information that they need. And I'm the person that will say to you, more is more. And I would just continue to write more. If you've got it and you know the information, the more you give, the easier it is for a support coordinator to come along and take the elements that they need for their report. So yes, it's important. Your progression notes that you're writing, whatever you may call them, your journaling, every support worker gives it a different name, but you need to write them because it shows growth of a participant that we serve, but also that information is so valuable to give on to the person that we serve or a support coordinator so they can use that information. 100%.
Yeah.
You've got me
I agree
on that one.
Look, I'll tell you what, it's we must drink from the same cup or whatever they call it, whatever that saying is.
It's worse when you've got nothing to work with. And it's so important. You're like, for a few times, you've been working with this person 5 days a week, 3 hours a day. We need this information to be able to put this together, this case, because the NDIS is an insurance scheme. It's not a freebie. You've got to make sure that we've got things in line to make sure that they have got capacity for the next plan and the plan after that and the plan whatever comes after that. Having that information and having that to follow is important.
And don't get me started. I'll go into full support coordinator mode, and I'm trying not to do that. But anyone that's like, so-and-so needs an increase in support work hours. And I'm just like, tell us, like, we need to tell the agency, well, we need the examples. So I think one of the reason that we're so successful, so we work with complex kids, whilst we definitely, we have kids on all ends of the spectrum, but we are really specialized in complex kids. And I think part of our success is, I know I've got an amazing SC, in Perth, and we had a family come to us and they had $19,000 in their plan. This child, and she was little, she was only like 18 months too, and mum was like, yeah, I'm really tired and I'm kind of exhausted. Fast forward, she just got an $850,000 plan. It is down to the evidence, and the problem is that families and support workers are expected to speak a different language.
Yeah.
Because mum had literally just gone, help me.
Yeah.
NDIS have gone, she's 2.
Yeah.
That's parental responsibility.
Yeah.
And so where we break it down is we do hour by hour task breakdowns. So this is the 24-hour time period. This is the care that this child needs. And we're talking kids that need suctioning, peg feeding, position changes, pressure management, even just to knowing the difference between an active overnight and a passive overnight. Because when we've got our little people, say, with cerebral palsy or some type of muscular dystrophy or something, it's like you're up every hour, maybe 2, repositioning them and suctioning and this, yeah.
These parents are tired. I'll be honest with you. Yeah, I hug it. And I can think of one in particular. It is exhausting. And then having a job on top of that to maintain your house. And then every so often moving your child to make sure that in the middle of the night that you're not going to have any pressure sores. It's insane. And I feel like at times support workers, we come into somebody's house, we're only coming in for 3 or 4 hours. We are only seeing a little bit. We're not seeing the full story. And as for like support coordinators, you get part of the story, but when you live it, it's completely different.
Yeah.
And we wonder why these parents aren't asking for more because they're so bloody tired they don't even know what to ask for.
Yeah. Or they've asked and they've been told, no, that's parental responsibility. And Hayley there, the good old parental responsibility. Yeah. That one gets me going. So I think in terms of whether you're a participant watching this, a family member, a support worker, it is literally about breaking it down, and I think so. One of the easiest ones is rent, like rent, utilities and food, sort of especially around the non-NDIS supports that have been released. And it comes down to no matter who you are, where you are, you have to pay for rent and food. Now, is that food being supplied via a gastronomy tube? Is that food, are you eating it? It doesn't really matter. As far as the NDIS and the government's concerned, it's not because of your disability you need to pay rent. Now, we can get into all of the arguments of, well, look at the capacity to earn and look at this and look at that. And it's grossly unfair. But you could also argue that someone on, say, the job seeker payment and like a family tax, like family carer payment, would probably, I don't know what the DSP is in terms of being comparative because we work with little people, but you understand what I'm saying in that sense of everyone who is on a Services Australia payment would be struggling to pay their rent. And so this is when you get into those really complex things. So if you can literally sit there and go, right, what does this person need specifically because of their disability? And that is how you pull it out. So one of the things, so with Pippa has a genetic syndrome, and because of her dodgy genes, she doesn't make the proteins for sleep. They're a bit crap. And so at 3, well, she's always been a shit sleeper, but at 3, you can sort of generally hope that your kid's sleeping through most of the time. Yeah. Not always, but most of the time. So I just remember going to the agency and going, I'm done. I'm so tired. She's got sleep apnea. So she needs resettling on the hour, every hour from the moment she goes to sleep. And then she wakes up at 3 a.m. and starts her day. Help me out here. And they're like, yeah, but it's parental responsibility. At 3, we wouldn't really expect them to be sleeping through. And if I had have known then what I know now, I would have broken that baby down and just, and demonstrated exactly what I was doing. But it's those types of things. So if you're looking at, let's say, community access is always a really tricky one for support workers to get funding over for young kids, because the argument always comes back to, well, a 6-year-old would not be accessing the community on their own. That's always the comeback. But what we're always quite successful with arguing, though, is that I can take a neurotypical 6-year-old and drop them off at basketball training, and I can probably pop to the shops and get a thing of milk and then come back to basketball training, or I can sit in the grandstand and watch them. Whereas because of my child's disability, I need to be on the court, scaffolding conversations. I need to be, watching the exits that they don't become dysregulated and start absconding, and those things,
Oh,
and
you're
this
it's
is the
on.
difference. Yeah,
Yeah.
this is the difference, and if you can demonstrate that, you generally have quite a bit of success with the agency.
Yep. Wow. So you've given me so much tonight. You've given
Oh,
me
good.
a lot.
I'm
But I
glad.
could do this for hours because you're so
Yeah, me
intriguing.
too. I'll tell my husband
So
that. I'll walk downstairs and my head will be so big.
I'm so intriguing. People wanted to reach you. If families
Yes.
wanted to reach you as a support coordinator, what is the best way to get in contact with you?
Look, if you're seeing this on Instagram, flick us a message. I'll be really honest, we don't have a huge amount of capacity for support
Yep.
coordination. We
Yep.
never really do. I'm almost over the line of putting more staff on. I haven't yet.
But it's
I
about
love
getting the right support coordinator. You don't just put anybody on.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And my staff have spoiled me, but it's also, we're at a size where I still know every single family. And if we go any bigger, I won't.
So
And
if they come to you and you can't provide support coordination, do you refer them? And do you have a list of people who are
try.
really fantastic to refer?
Yeah.
Because I know a lot. I've been talking to some providers like that, and then you talk and you're like, so if you weren't able to take them on, did you refer them?
Yeah.
No. Why?
I know. I try
Yeah.
to. Yeah, I try to. The problem is, especially in the support coordination world, we find everyone who's really good never has any capacity. And then you're stuck, isn't it? Because it's like, I don't want to refer them to someone and then they have a shit experience. So what I try and do is, obviously we try and refer them. So anyone who comes on, we've got some capacity in New South Wales at the minute, only because that's sort of where my newest support coordinator is located. She's a freak of nature, that woman. She's amazing. Her legislation knowledge trumps mine, and that's saying something. And so so we try, and then it's obviously, and I hate saying it, redirect back to the partners in community. And we get a lot of families who come to us who don't have support coordination funding in their plan. And I think that's sort of one of the trickiest things is, a lot of people, it's really hard to get support coordination funded in your plan, especially for children. So what we always say is, hound your partner in community like there is no tomorrow, because that is one of the quickest ways to demonstrate the level of support you need. Because the reason we can't get decent hours for pediatric support coordination in particular is they go, that's what your partner in community is for. And whilst the early childhood partners are fabulous, well-meaning humans, their roles are not support coordination. And that's all we can come up with. And we've actually the agency are quite good at giving kids 12 hours of support coordination. And so we've started to decline them because, and I'll sit on a delegate meeting now and they'll be like, okay, 12 hours of support coordination. I'm like, well, I hope you feel, you've got someone, because we can't continue this relationship with this family. I always pre-warn parents about that before we go in, because they know I would never ditch them. But for a new referral, it's that we can't do our job. And so, and the comeback is always, oh, well, that's what your partner in community is for. So we're like, hound them, email them every day, call them, let them know exactly what you need, and let's see how quickly. And I must admit, most planners, and look, would I want to be a planner? And would I want to be a partner in community? No, thank you. No, thank you. And could you imagine working in NDIS complaints section?
Well, that's easy.
Yeah,
Job.
never a dull day. Never a dull day.
Well, I always wonder, like, if they sit in the office and go, one moment, have you read this?
Mate, I know. I honestly think one of the big things that we have, the reason we're so successful though too, is I know that these guys are having to work within their scope and what they're being told to do. Look, there's some shit planners out there, and I might have lost my cool on a couple of planning meetings.
We won't play this game, never have you ever.
Yeah, but I'm generally really good. I can generally hold it together. But 95% of the planners, the LACs, people who I have had the privilege of working with, they mean well. And if you treat them with respect, and, I will say things, look, hey, Sarah, I must actually really respectfully disagree with you, and this is why. Have you seen XYZ? Did you know that the legislation actually says XYZ? And 9 times out of 10, they go,
Yeah.
you know, and it's really well received. Look, I've also been told to fuck off. You know, look, it happens. But
little bit.
most of the time, but most of the time, it's generally really well received. You know, I've had
Like,
people.
if you get to that point, it's something really big did happen. When I ever got to that point and there was somebody's needs not met and it was unsafe on something, that's the only time I've ever really gone to that point. And then Advocate Sarah turns up with her hat on. Yep.
I've
got a question.
Yeah.
What does the future hold for your company? Like, what's next? Are you allowed to tell me?
Look, what's next for us is we are registering.
Yep.
So there's been the mandated registration. You know, I'm really upfront with people, especially consulting clients. I truly don't believe a registered company means a good company. I really don't. I've worked with enough NDIS providers to know that. And previously, it made no financial sense for us to register.
Yep.
But now it's been mandated. So one of the good things is we pretty much operated like we're registered anyway. So, you know, it's been a really great opportunity to really just dot our I's and cross our T's. And I think we will grow because I'm a sucker and our wait list is starting to break my heart. I generally find once we get to 20 or 30 people sitting on the wait list, my heart can't really take it very much. And I'm like, hey, we'll put another staff member on. So I think, you know, we all know that navigators are coming. I don't know what that means for my business for, you know, in a couple of years' time. But I also know that there is absolutely no way that the NDIS Commission would be going through all this rigmarole of mandating registration for support coordinators if there was not a place for us in with navigators. There is just what I feel there'll be a place for support coordinators as navigators. I really do. So we're just going to keep being awesome in that sense. And then Ali Consulting is, you know, I've just loved that I can make more impact that way. It's pretty awesome having the people with support coordination, and, you know, helping the families, but the consulting helps me have bigger impact and really helps, I guess, ensure that the little people that we're supporting and all the participants and the big people, little people, families get really fantastic quality NDIS services. And the fact that I can play a really small part in that is pretty cool.
It doesn't it? It does, You don't forget, I know with the support worker store, I will have people and meet them out and about, and I don't know until, like, I don't know. Sometimes I'll be out at a expo or out at a networking and they're like, hey, Sarah, I saw a post X, Y, and Z. Thank you so much. And you're like, something that is so small that I didn't think that took much actually had a big impact. And it does feel good, I must admit. It does, because it means that you're impacting people to bring them to a level and, you know, like leveling up their game, but also they're able to provide really good quality supports. And that's my thing. That's what I love talking about. I love talking about quality.
And I look at it in terms of, I go, we left our support network so we could be, you know, out of the country town, but to give Pippa some more opportunities. And we love Napa. We're Napa converts. Anyone who doesn't know what Napa is, happy to talk for hours about that after.
Is that a small town?
No. Napa is a type of therapy. So it's so funny. It's hilarious. You're never going to forget what Napa is. Oh, that's so funny. So Napa is a type of intensive therapy. And there's only centres in Sydney, Melbourne and Brisbane. So they're amazing. So we're doing that. I can't remember where I was going with that though.
That's all right. I'm going to Google this afterwards. So if this ever comes up again, I will know.
You're going to be like, I know what Napa is.
I was all about intensive interaction, but here comes Napa.
Yeah, exactly. But I think, you know, the fact that I get to have the flexibility to take my kid to 3 hours of therapy a day, 5 days a week for 3 weeks, because that's what NAPA is, that I get the privilege of employing mums of children with disabilities who can then work while their kids are sick and in hospital and actually be a little bit more financially stable to their family. That is an absolute, sorry if you've got kids around, but that is a fucking privilege, and I absolutely love that we can do that. And and my staff know I don't care when you work, I don't care, like I really don't. It's just as long as the work is done and as long as the participants are there. You've got physio, go to physio. One of our poor staff members, she's got her second round of gastro in the house for the last 7 days. And so, it's like go be with your kids, and she knows that she can still support her family financially and still be there. Like, I love it. So I could do this work forever. I really could. And I'm glad I've had this conversation, because I've been pretty grumpy with the agency in the last couple of weeks, not going to lie. Don't get me started on stated supports, because you will be here for another hour.
Is there anyone I can see? We've actually got quite a few in the chat. If anyone's got any questions, if you've got any questions, Hayley, for me, I'm all ears. I'm ready for you.
Oh, yeah. Look, I have I just think that you're awesome. If anyone's got lots of questions, I'm all there for it. Yeah. I love it.
Haven't we all?
Haven't we all? All right. I think we're good on the questions.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for joining us.
No.
Thank you for joining us all today. I have learnt a lot. I'm going to go Google NAPA.
You'll love it.
Thank you. I got a lot from this, so thank you so much for giving me all your
thank you so much for having me. No, thank you.
Somebody that has a background, not just support coordination, but it's actually got a family member, so it's a lived experience. And then when you've got a lived experience, it sits differently.
Yeah.
So thank you so much.
No, it does. I think that's our special sauce, is that lived experience. It is. Thank you for all the amazing work you do, and let's chat again soon.
All right, see you.
All right.